Oh, listen only mode. So we have to put it off, na?
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, I welcome you all for this very second event of ASSOCHAM Women Foundation. And a big round of applause for Ms. Manjari Chandra ji for the launch of her book, which is Eat Up, Clean Up. Today we are having such eminent panelists with us who are going to talk about more on this technical subject. And I welcome Dr. Blossom Kocher, Ms. Isha Bandari, Sunalini Matthew ji, Dr. Geeta Trilok ji, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Dr. D.S. Rana ji, who are going to join us very soon. So, to take it with this further, I may request Ms. Manjari Chandra ji to follow the lead and take this ahead. Over to you, Manjari ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Payal. Extremely grateful to ASSOCHAM for giving me the opportunity to come together on this platform. I mean, we are meeting people across the board, but to come together on a platform is it's really kind of everybody in ASSOCHAM. And Dr. Kocher and Isha ji, everybody will agree that it's a very, very nice team at ASSOCHAM. It's a beautiful team at ASSOCHAM. And, I'm really, really happy to be here. So this thing is just a little bit of a launch. I'll read a couple of pages from my book, and then we'll just have a small panel discussion. So before
Sure.
I do a small reading of the book, I wanted to introduce our panelists for today. The panelists for today, of course, one of the key guests for today is Dr. D.S. Rana. D.S. Rana, as we all know, shall be joining soon. He's the chairman of Sir Gangaram Hospital, and he's also the chairman of ASSOCHAM National Wellness Council. He's one of the people I personally look up to because there's a lot that I've learned from him. He's, of course, a Padma Shri and a Dr. B.C. Roy awardee. He's also a Padma Bhushan. He's the first Himachal Pradesh resident to be awarded Padma Shri and the Padma Bhushan. He's the chairman of Board of Management at the Sir Gangaram Hospital. He's known for his proficiency in renal transplant, and he holds various important portfolios. He's a member of the institute body of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. He's on the governing council of SGPGI Lucknow, and he's the council member of Career Point University, Hamirpur. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Rana. He'll be joining soon, but it's very kind of him, although he's in his own hometown, to take up the time and agree to be with Dr. D.S. We also have with us Dr. Blossom Kocher, somebody I'm personally very fond of. Dr. Blossom Kocher is, of course, the co-chair of ASSOCHAM National Wellness Council and the chairperson of Kocher Group of Companies. She's got over 35 years of experience and is a pioneer in aromatherapy. She's the chairperson of Blossom Kocher Group of Companies, and she's also the co-chairperson of Beauty and Wellness Council and India president for Organization Mondial. Yeah, I'm sorry, the C is a French word. Bestowed with many, many awards, Kocher is currently working with the Delhi government for their entrepreneurship program. With Dr. Blossom, also have with us today Sanjeev Bagai. He'll joining. He just confirmed to me. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai is also a Padma Shri recipient and also the recipient of the B.C. Roy Award, the highest award medical category. He's an Indian pediatrician and a nephrologist and a medical administrator. He's the chairman of Nephron Clinics, and he was the former vice chairman of Manipal Hospital, Dwarka, New Delhi. He's the alumni of St. Xavier's College, and he's written several articles. He's also the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Pediatric Nephrology. With Dr. Sanjeev, we have with us a very eminent person, Dr. Geeta Trilok Kumar. Dr. Geeta Trilok Kumar is the director of Institute of Home Economics, University of Delhi. She is currently a Wellcome Trust DBT Senior Fellow, and she's done a PhD on clinical trials jointly from AIIMS in Delhi. She's received the Commonwealth fellowship for her postdoctoral work at London's Hygiene and she has received a 4-week training on micronutrient analysis in Bergen, Norway. She's currently the Wellcome Trust Senior Research Fellow in Public Health. She has been involved in several international funded projects and various research work that she's been doing. She is published in prestigious high factor journals such as the British Journal of Nutrition and the International Journal of Epidemiology. She's also an advisor on the Government of India programs and surveys. She's a member of the governing body of CBSC, which is the NTSC. We also have with us, with Dr. Trilok, Miss Isha Bhandari. Isha Bhandari ji, somebody again we all look up to for all her bright smile and her beautiful mannerisms. Isha ma'am is the chairperson of the DSB Foundation and an international social scientist. She's the national advisory member for the Indian Media Council. She is the director of the Indian Global Goodwill Ambassador and the US Global Advisor for the Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. She's also the US lead of Women Forum CSR division. Ms. Isha is also the ASSOCHAM chairperson for community development and she heads the Delhi Research Foundation. With Isha, we also have with us Ms. Sonalini Matthews. Sonalini, when I asked her to send me a profile, she sent me just 2 lines saying, I'm a journalist who currently works as a Hindu and writes on lifestyle and health. But we all know that she's a very seasoned and a very senior journalist. She has been the deputy editor for the Hindu features for a long time, and she's well known for the type of articles she writes, which are extremely thoughtful, very new in their perspective. And there's a lot that she has written, which is, not many people write about things, and she's been able to write about that. I've known her for some time, and I admire her for the way she looks into things in a very clear and minute fashion. So we welcome Ms. Sonalini, Dr. Geeta Trilok, Ms. Isha, Blossom Kochhar, and of course we will be joined with the men. And until then, we are a woman powerhouse until the men who's our women here. So before we go into the panel discussion, I'll just take, so this is my book. It's called Eat Up, Clean Up. And I'm also writing the other book. One second, I'll just check with Dr. Geeta, one second. Dr. Geeta, we can't see you now. Dr. Geeta? But I think her camera is off. So I'm also writing the second book, which is now on the editing table of Rupa, and it's been published by Rupa Publication. But I'll take the opportunity to read a couple of things from my book. This is from a chapter which is called Nutrition from a Need to a Table, and I'm reading a few lines. Unfortunately, we have forgotten and all gotten tangled up in this specialty web of specialty diets and healthy ingredients that's promised to burn our pockets. The focus has shifted from eating healthy to losing weight. And that translates to the end justifies all means philosophy. As I consult individuals in the community or talk to multiple people at various platforms or contribute sessions and workshops, I'm amazed at the fact that the questions still stay basic and simple. Many highly educated, well-read, and informed clients ask questions that show that there is an overload of confusing or contradictory information. Questions that come to me are questions very simple, something like, what oil should I use? Is ghee okay or is olive oil a better choice? Should I eat any fat in my diet or should I go on a completely fat-free diet? Is green tea better than my brewed masala tea? My masala tea makes me happy, whereas green tea makes me really grumpy. Is it safe to use a sweetener? How many servings and which category of sweetener is the best? Should I drink cold pressed vegetable juice or 100% Tetra Pak fruit juice? If I don't eat carbs at night, how do I sleep peacefully on a hungry, deprived stomach? Why is everybody shifting to chia seeds? Are they better than the melon seeds that I've had from my childhood? So these are questions that come to us and are very, very simple questions. But in spite of the internet being there and so much information being there, people still want answer to these basic questions. Coming to a couple of more pages. Just give me a moment. Sorry, just one moment, please. I'm sorry, one moment. Okay. It's called the hazard added sugar. According to a research by the University of California, San Francisco, high intakes of sugar is associated with severe risk of the cardiometabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes being a major one of that. High doses of sugar increase the body's resistance to insulin produced by the pancreas. The continued consumption of sugar over time may affect the pancreas' ability to generate a sufficient amount of insulin, which in turn causes type 2 diabetes. The second known problem associated with excessive sugar intake is obesity. First, dextrose that we eat as sugar converts to fatty acids. Do you know it also converts to triglycerides, and it finally gets stored in the body as adipose tissue? A study appeared in the Journal of the American Medical Association and it revealed that people who received 25% or more calories from added sugar have over 3 times higher risk of developing a heart attack, heart disease, or stroke over people who received less than 5% of calories from sugar. Moreover, the American Medical Association suggests an association between a high fructose diet and increased levels of blood pressure. High sugar intake and the resultant high fat deposit increases one's risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, elevated cholesterol levels, high blood pressure, accelerated aging, digestive disorders, weakened immune system, hyperactivity in children, asthma, migraines, blood clots, osteoporosis, food allergies, kidney damage, mineral deficiencies, depression, and the list is endless. So we'll now move on to the panel discussion, and thank you all for joining in. We'll take a minute and just check for Dr. Rana. Just give me a moment. Payal, is Dr. Rana joining me? Hi, Payal, are you there? Hi, Payal, are you there? My first question is to Dr. Geeta Trilok. Dr. Geeta Trilok is the director of Institute of Home Economics, and she's been teaching nutrition, and she's, of course, been researching in nutrition all these 30s of years. She's been doing that. Dr. Geeta, when you teach students nutrition, and when, nutrition is what they will be practicing going forward in life, what do you think? Do you think the academic way in which we teach nutrition in our country and the amount of importance we attach to nutrition being one of the major factors for not only preventive but treating lifestyle disorders and all the non-communicable diseases that we see today, do you think nutrition gets its due, or as an academician you would want it to have more importance?
You know, I always tell my students for years and years, nutrition was never given the right due place. However, now, of course, because the Prime Minister is talking nutrition, there is a political will to address nutrition, both malnutrition and overnutrition, it is getting its importance. From you want you your I and as I understood your question, you wanted to ask if the academic institutions are getting enough. If I got your question correctly.
In various ways, Dr. Geeta, because as children study nutrition and as they become people who will professionally practice it, do you think there is enough due given to the practice of nutrition or the studying or the academic, funding and research that's happening in nutrition?
Yes and no. Mostly no is my answer, because our syllabi are not oriented to practice. They are more oriented to give just basic knowledge of nutrition. However, when our own students go out to hospitals, to clinics, they struggle because they don't get enough exposure to a background, to a scenario where they can understand how to use nutrition and apply it. So the application base is completely missing in our syllabi. We've tried over the years to improve this, but with the limited funding, the universities cannot increase their fees. So within the constraints of all this, we've tried to now upgrade our syllabi to become more practice oriented, but yet we are far from when compared to Western nations. And I wish we would pump in more money to ensure that our students are given the right training and importance, both.
As a person who works in nutrition in the last 25 years, whatever I have worked, Dr. Geeta, another thing that we've seen is that nutrition in a clinical setting has been relegated to a support service or, to something which is like a paramedical thing. Whereas I'm doing something called functional nutrition. I trained myself in functional nutrition. And we are literally now reversing cardiometabolic diseases, from reversing cancer to reversing diabetes to reversing autoimmune conditions. So and when we do that reversal, nutrition becomes 60 to 80% of that, but that is not really, catered for, whether it is in academics or in professional.
In the hospitals, yes. That is a constant grouse we have, and at the government levels we have actually fought and said that nutrition needs to have more importance everywhere, including hospitals. I mean, I personally think that my doctor friends may disagree, but I personally think that they do right, ye kha lo, ye nahi kha lo, but they don't have the basic knowledge of nutrition. And it really, in a hospital, a nutrition department must be encouraged. They must get enough incentives. Our nutritionists in the hospitals, in the public sectors, in the clinics don't get enough importance, don't get enough salaries, don't get enough incentives. And I'm really disappointed that less and less number of children are coming into nutrition these days. Nutrition is no longer the preferred degree which it was 25 years ago, because there was hope. I think we really need to work on bringing nutrition to the forefront, because nutrition along with medicine it has to run parallelly, and there is no cure without improving your nutrition. The entire secret to health is good nutrition, as you've already said in your book. And I personally think that it's a perfect thing. People need to understand, and so does everybody in the medical community, to understand that nutrition goes, along with medicine, and they must give us enough importance. We've not got this kind of importance for years and years, and we're struggling to get that.
Yes, that's so well said. Thank you. We'll come back to again. My next question is to Dr. Kochhar. Dr. Kochhar, because you've been, with the beauty industry.
No, how do, okay. I'm just seeing if my unmute. Okay, hello, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
You've been in the beauty industry for 35 years, and you're one of the most well-known faces there, of course. But you know that beauty is really not skin deep. It's more really the internal health which will define a person's external beauty. So, do you think in beauty, in the type of therapies that you do, in the type of products that you make for skin, for hair, aromatherapy, do you think that people who come to you also want to cleanse themselves internally and have better health? So they're just looking at, external beauty, and, what is your take on generally the client and the customer perspective there?
Oh, so this is firstly, I would like to congratulate you, Chef Manjari, for this wonderful book, Eat Up and Clean Up. I think this is really needed a great deal, especially in I think all over, but especially in the beauty industry, definitely. It is needed because one thing is, like, I believe that beauty is really holistic, okay? And it has to come from inside out. And I really feel, and I advise a lot of my clients, but let's first come to your question about what the clients want. The clients, a lot of them don't understand when they come to a beauty salon or a spa or something. They are just coming, they feel that things can be just done externally and make them look, beautiful. But I always say these are the little artifacts and the little they just give them that air of beauty at that moment. But to really be beautiful, and like I always advise them, is it all starts with your stomach, and you say with the gut. Really, it's what you eat that comes up. Like, for people come for falling hair, I always tell them, falling hair, you have to go back to nutrition, because yes, I can give you creams and lotions, and what is it actually working is the massage that is working on your hair. But what you really need is a nutrition. Whatever you eat, the nutrition first goes to all the major organs. What is left comes up to your hair. And then I always tell them, if your hair is giving trouble, look into your nutrition. That means your health is not really good. So you have to see. So beauty, health, that really works. Also the skin. For a beautiful glowing skin, what you really need is good, you have to take in all your vitamins, which is very important. And you have to have the correct protein. So for all the wrinkles and the collagen, I always say, how is your protein? You have to eat it. People don't bother about that. Then they go in for these diets, which really, like you were reading in your book, it's there, that it is just so haphazard. They will, they have to eat a sensible, simple, proper meal. So in beauty, like I say, for your skin, for a healthy, glowing skin, for hair, first comes your diet. And also a lot of emotions play a part, in being beautiful. And like I always say, we say you're angry, actually you're hungry because you're hungry, actually, and that's why you're angry. So that is what. So these emotions, they play such an important part. So your emotions, everything, all the depression, all the anger, all the thing, it all goes out to, make you what kind of personality you are, how beautiful you are, and your wrinkles, your falling hair, your dark circles, your acne, all is because of the thing. So this, you really have to clean internally to really clean externally. So this is something, Manjari, I really believe in. You know, we have to look internally, and a diet, and a good diet, cleansing diet and good diet is very, very important for everything.
No, thank you for endorsing that, because a lot of, a lot of cosmetic treatments, a lot of beauty treatments are not really looking there. Therefore, sometimes, you may do things externally, but you don't have the long lasting effects, and you always come back with a messed up system, I know of somebody who says kuch bhi khao as long as your carbohydrate load is less than 50 grams per day. You can eat Subway sandwiches times a day, as long as, not understanding that there is not just the calories that you have to look at. There is a lot more that you have to look at. The herbs and spices, the vitamins and minerals as you outlined, the type of protein, the quality of hydration, everything really, plus the added load of preservatives and all these chemicals that come in fast food, which we shouldn't be having.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Kochhar. I'll come back to you again. Before we go to Miss Isha, I have a question for Sonalini. So, because Sonalini has been writing for health for such a long time, I have a little thing with the media. I somehow feel that what is happening on media and social media specifically is more coming from a perspective which is, something that is trendy, something that is eye popping, something that catches your attention instead of the right information coming in. So how would you, because I know whatever you write, you research very well, Sonalini, but that's not across the board. It's not like that. So many times people get information from media and social media, which is not so right. So what is your take on that? How do you think this should work really?
So Manjari, I absolutely agree with you on the fact that media as a body. First, let's look at the fact that there are two medias in a sense, right? One is your established media and one is social media. We can't, unfortunately, as a media organization, or for that matter, any media organization, can't control the conversation on social media, right? What we can do is put out right information, which a lot of the times, I agree with you, doesn't happen. So, even studies sometimes that are just, studies which have like 20 participants, people will pick up and say, oh, smelling coffee beans is great, or in the morning, or some random study like that. We, we try not to do that. We don't do it because we have internal guidelines. The thing, and which I've picked up from Dr. Kochhar also, and from what you're saying, is that everyone today is looking for a quick fix, and from your book also, right? Where the whole conversation has shifted from health to weight loss, for instance. And weight loss is, people want everybody wants quick solutions. And I think this trend of therefore featuring eye-grabbing headlines feeds into our into the way we have become as a society, where we are looking for quick fixes, which we see even in the beauty industry, right? So yes, I agree with you. We need to do something about it. The main problem is that when we look at lifestyle health, very young people are given that to do. It's something seemingly unimportant, because news is all important. So maybe somebody who's 22 or 23, and I'm not being ageist here, perhaps somebody needs to guide them, not perhaps, senior people need to guide them on how to write, on what news to pick up, on which experts to talk to. Even that is important, right? Which journals to look at to pick up research. These things are just not taught in many media organizations, and that is really the problem, but it's problems at many levels. So it's not just about the media organization, it is also a reflection of society as a whole, and us really looking for quick fixes, headline grabbing things, and also new. You know, we're so jaded in a sense that we are constantly looking for newness. And I think that is also a problem. And that is where what you say comes in, right? We don't want to go with what we've been eating for generations. We're looking for some bizarre nut from some Brazilian forest when actually we could be eating some nut, you know, locally. So there are all of these factors that feed into the way we write and the way information is received, and also the way information is perceived, you know. So over the years, I figured out that after speaking to so many experts, and I tell this to a lot of young colleagues also, that actually it's very simple. You just need to eat healthy, right? Which is your basic home food. You need to sleep, right? And you need to exercise. You need to move all the time. I mean, as much as possible. And that these three things will actually take care of a lot. And we are goofing up on these three things. And also, and this is a problem with the media and with the medical profession itself, like Dr. Geeta was saying, we have made the doctor the head of the whole supply chain, actually, right? I feel the head should be professionals who are talking nutrition, who are talking exercise, and who are talking sleep. We can prevent so many problems if we just invert this pyramid. And this is like just a terrible thing to say, but actually make the doctor the bottom of that. Because once those things are taken care of, if you then have a problem, then you go to the doctor. It is inverted, right? And congratulations to you, Manjari, that you have called out so many of these things, including the whole pharma problem. It takes a lot of courage to do that, being from that profession and sitting in that industry, because not many people do that. So, I mean, hats off to you that you've begun the book with that. You haven't ended the book with that. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Sonali. I'll just say one small thing, and I don't know whether Dr. Geeta would agree to it, but you know, there is a metabolic disease called diabetes, which plagues around 40% of Indians today. This form of disease called diabetes, which as a prognosis becomes one of the worst diseases to have because it affects every vital organ in the body and leads you to blindness, to kidney failure. Once a person has had kidney failure, it's just a downhill ride there. Yes, the thing is that diabetes is a completely reversible problem, but walk to a physician. No physician will ever tell you that your high sugars can be reversed back to normal just by changing the way you are living. So what modern medicine is essentially doing is it's using chemicals to manage human vital conditions, which human bodies have the capacity to manage. You know, if you fluked up somewhere and you've gotten wrong somewhere and your sugars are here and there, I mean, correct what went wrong. You know, to give you an analogy, suppose I'm standing on a piece of cut glass with bare feet and I have pain. If you go to a doctor and say that, he'll say take a painkiller, you know, and when the pain becomes more, he'll say take one more, he'll add one more medicine, and when it becomes really bad, he'll say I'll amputate your leg. He never tells you to get off that glass piece, you know, whereas in the beginning only, if you had gotten off a piece of glass, you know, you would not need the medicines. And that's, as you said, if you can correct your sleep, your movement, your food, you don't need medication. But as you rightly said, the pyramid is inverted and people who are in the preventive space are given the least importance, but people are waking up. As individuals, I think we are becoming very conscious of our own health. So it's, I think, a positive journey from here, hopefully, you know. Yes. I Isha to, you know, Isha ji, thank you for coming in. You know, because you've been working a lot in the social space also. I'd like to understand from you that, you know, in the public space or in public health platforms or in social space, how do you see malnutrition or undernutrition being addressed? Do you think it is being addressed well? Do you think that more dialogue that needs to happen? And if yes, then where can we sort of start it from?
Manjari, first of all, I would like to congratulate you once again, because I think you have really broken the myth about nutrition, weight loss, and diet. And also, 2 points which I loved in your book was, I think it's a very common, like we always say, we hear from the doctors, we hear from the medical people, but 2 simple sentences which you have said: use our common sense, which we don't; uncomplicate the act of eating, which again we don't. So I think if these 2 broadly things are taken care of, we would be much healthier, than going to the doctors every time. And also, I love the way you address the Ayurveda, because that is something which has been there almost 5,000 years ago from our ancient Indian culture, and which is a science of energy itself. So I would just share a little thing about what I read about it, and then I'll come back to your question. So Ayurveda was very interesting while I was reading your book and reading something more about the health. So it basically identifies 3 basic type of energies that is present in everyone, and we call it Vata. I don't know if you've read about this. So something interesting, and I wanted to share with all of you. So Vata is the energy of movement, Pitta is the energy of digestion, and Kapha is the energy of lubrication. So if we integrate all this and understand this, I think our lives would be much simpler than what we are. Because at every small cough and cold, we are running to the doctors and taking antibiotics and medicines, which I think we all should go back to our roots. And we had another session with Payal and Esocham when we were talking about the COVID thing. And I know I picked a very different topic about staying at home the Ayurveda way. So the Ayush way, actually. So I think we've forgotten what was told to us when we were children from our parents, the cleanliness part of it, which we are following now.
That's right.
Change their clothes, they would bathe or at least wash their hand and then sit down for food. So something which you have addressed, Ayurveda, is really, I think, very important for me. But coming back to your question, like I've traveled a lot in India and abroad also. I've gone down to the villages. But, Manjari, there is the myth you have broken also, what Sonali also mentioned about the pharmacists and the complete pharma industry. Surprisingly, when I went down and met a lot of women in the rural areas, you'll be surprised, they are more healthy than us. So that was something which was very, it was kind of very surprising for me, because their diet involves absolutely local, fresh, organic, whereas our diets, we know what we all are taking. So somewhere down in the villages, I see the women are more healthier than us. Leave aside the other major problems which are facing them, but the basic diet and basic health is much better than the women in the urban areas. Second, the kind of atmosphere they're living in, pollution free, next to the farms, is again adding on to their health a lot. And also they're following much more natural and traditional medicines. What we are following here is more of the pharma products and all the allopathic medicines which are taken care of. So for small things also, they have Ayurveda remedies in their homes. Like when we used to travel, we used to get a stomach ache or somebody's got an allergy, so we would always pick up something from the village ladies, and that was so fast. I mean, we would recover so fast rather than taking those allopathic medicines. So somewhere down the line, people who are still following the natural way of living, the organic foods without pesticides and things, are much more healthier than us on this. And what you have addressed in the book, Manjari, I think is a learning for everybody, not only for the people who are health conscious, but for everybody, whether they're working, not working, whether they're fat, whether they're slim. but this is something basic what we really need to know in our lives, that how do we clean up, because we cannot, like I always, you mentioned in your book everywhere, there's so many advisors on health, how to lose weight, what to eat, what not to eat, but nobody talks about inner cleaning, what Blossomji also mentioned, and other, that we need to be clean, we need to clean ourselves from within. Also the emotions make a lot of difference, like Blossomji mentioned about being angry, being happy, so that really adds on to your health. So I think it's a holistic thing. It's just not eating the right kind of vegetable and fruit. Everything, the energies we talk about, the atmosphere we live in really matters a lot in this thing.
Yes, yes. No, absolutely. And thank you for bringing in the Ayurveda perspective, because I'm sure most people know about it already, but this concept of movement and lubrication and digestion that you spoke about become the basic things for being healthy. Because we sit in clinics and we see patients day in and day out, that's what we do. There are some people who come in with complete belief, people have come in with complete disbelief that they'll never become better. So people come in with, I have an autoimmune condition, I have multiple sclerosis, I will never become better. So they've been sadly, medical fraternity has also, in a way, told them or sort of put it somewhere in their psyche that a debilitating disease is not curable. So they have already accepted that you live with a disease and they're not going to come out of it. So as you said, everything that we manifest has a psychosomatic component to it. So there's no way your body will respond to anything unless you're psychologically geared up there. Yes. And that is also very important. That's why the act of eating is not just sitting in a corner and eating raw salad. The bonhomie of eating a meal with your family and friends is more therapeutic than sitting and eating salad alone. So we all know that, but somehow we don't do it. We eat on the go, and just sit alone and sometimes eat in a grumpy way, or mindlessly eat. So these things are extreme. And we eat, and our digestion starts much before you actually put the food in your mouth, from the flavor which causes the salivary secretions to the hydrochloric acid buildup. All of it needs to be taken. You just can't pick up a sandwich and gobble it down. It will never get used the way it used. So,
and also, Manjari, when we talk about the diet, I've seen a lot of people say I'm on diet, and for them diet is like a it's like a crash diet, not to have anything the whole day. So I go crazy. I said, you have been having till say last night you've been having such good dinners with everything, and suddenly in the morning you say I'm on a crash diet and I'm dieting because I'm too fat. I think this is something which it is very shocking actually. I'm sure Blossomji will also agree, and even all of you, the panelists here, because this is not something you're looking at. And also, being slim doesn't mean that you need to be size 0. Please, girls and all the women, I think, Sonali, all you young girls, it's very important for you, for the young generation to understand. Being 0 size is not, it's like not being healthy. I think you're more unhealthy if you're like that. So you really need, for me, I think if I say that, oh, okay, I've put on excess or I need to reduce, it's not to reduce just to reduce for the heck of it, but yes, to manage your body. And I think the balancing act is the most important thing. Even if you need a cleaning up, you suddenly can't say that, okay, from today onwards, I'm not eating anything, nothing. But you need to go gradually. You need to cut down on your fats. You need to cut down on many other things and gradually come to a balance point where you know that, okay, this is the amount you have to eat in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. So that is something, again, which, I think is very interesting for everybody.
That's so true. We have to really, they have to, I really feel that if you go by the older way, your grandparents' way, and the way we were brought up on eating our normal 3 meals a day or eating normal, and eating your normal vegetable, dal, sabji, and the other things, it really is going to, you know, it really keeps you fit and going, and not like you were saying, going into spurts. The spurts when you go into, I really wonder what's happening into the insides of
Very
those people.
true.
Because suddenly
Very
go
true.
then they're suddenly into the other, and the sudden, and it's, and you know what, you go back to the same thing. I've seen them
Yeah.
diet and going back to the same
Going
thing.
back, yeah. Majority of the cases.
Yeah, you have to go on this gradual and clean, and you know, go on a sensible plan. That is really what is important, and it's healthy. You have to
Yeah.
be healthy and not slim. This is what I really believe in. People feel they are slim, they are not healthy.
Yes,
They have
they're
the
not
energy.
healthy.
You have to be healthy, and that should be our goal. And like Dr. Geeta was saying, nutritionists are not needed now. I think it's all the more needed, Dr. Geeta. We do need these nutritionists to really, you know, guide us and guide the people on how to go about it, because nutrition now, and especially in this COVID and post-COVID, it's really going to become the one thing that we are going to have to go by, a proper, sensible, good, healthy, organic diet. That's really what we're going to have to do, because
Yes,
that
I
is
Yeah. And also crash diets really affect your health. You know, you really need to balance. Suddenly you realize, I've seen girls getting married, going for these weight loss workshops, getting so slim. And just maybe a year after wedding, they're back, and I pity the husbands, you know, after. So, so I think the balance and what you have spoken, Manjari, is very important. You know, that inner cleaning up and, you know, balancing with Ayurveda, with things is something which we really need. You haven't spoken about, you know, like when you go to somebody, stop rice, stop this, stop that, you know, so you go crazy. And you meet somebody else, they say, no, no, rice is very good, go ahead. Somebody says, no, have this kind of atta, mix 5 ingredients. I go crazy because I don't like the taste of that. And I've seen those people having diabetes. So, you know, you're lost actually. You really don't know whom to trust, whom to listen. So I think your book is the answer.
You know, I'll take a minute to say I was listening to a podcast yesterday evening. This was a big study that has been done by I think WHO only. It was a study of what is the major difference between a set of around 100 people and another, another 100 people. They had taken two sets of people, 100 each, and they were doing a study to understand how this 100 health is different from the other. And you know, the WHO director, what he said in that podcast was that the result of the research, and this is just one of it, they've done multiple of those, shows that the only differentiator between most healthy and unhealthy people is the fact that the people who are healthy are eating food that is cooked in their own homes and in their own houses. You know, that
Yeah.
just one denominator changes the equation so drastically that food is made in your own houses and you have control over what you're eating. You know, the minute you open a box or a tin or a can or a Tetra Pak, that's my favorite line,
Yeah.
zero control what you're going. Although it may claim, because the claims are only things that are, you know, sort of, good for that product. They only put the claims that are good for them, because they don't put
Right.
everything should be there. They only put the things that you are not good for you and fine print. You never notice them. You only notice the claims that makes that product sell more. Yes. So every time, so one of the easiest things to do actually is to eat at home if you want to keep yourselves healthier and you know, good. So that's a very simpler one. Sonali would like to say.
Yeah, and since I speak to so many experts, somebody had put it for me very easily to say avoid the 3 Bs, which is bags, bottles, and a third B, which is, really it just summarizes all packaged foods actually.
Yeah.
Hello, Dr. Manjari.
Hello,
Hi.
Dr. Rana. Good afternoon, Dr.
Namaskar.
Rana. Namaskar.
Heartiest
Dr.
congratulations to you. I was listening to you for last half an hour. You people and really enjoyed. But now I have to go to my clinic. I will be leaving you. Really wonderful to listen to you.
Can we get to see you? Do we have an opportunity
I don't
for you?
know. It is up to my camera is on. I don't know. I am sitting in my village home and
Oh, wow.
my camera is on, but I don't know why I can't see you.
Okay.
Just tell your organizer.
Yes, I just messaged Ritika.
Share your camera. I think he should share his camera to.
Share my camera.
Mm-hmm.
My camera is on actually, but
Okay.
there is some problem with your.
Are you seeing a green icon on your camera? Just click it once it becomes
I'm seeing
green.
icon of camera that is on.
Yeah.
There is a sir, there is a webcam icon below the voice, below the microphone. There is another icon, which is a webcam. If you could just try and switch it on once, please.
Yeah, it's already on, but
No problem.
I don't know.
Maybe, sir, no problem. But
It is on. Now it is off. It is on now.
okay, no problem. No problem. Maybe some connectivity issues from there.
There is some
Yeah,
problem.
Dr. Rana sir, thank you so much for joining us over here. We truly understand आपका वहाँ पे connectivity issue बहुत सारा है in the Himachal. Still, we are very thankful that you have tried to log in and be a part of this launch. And Manjushri, I understand.
With great difficulty, I could organize here.
Yeah. If you had been in Delhi, it would have been easy for you to be a part in the. But it is very grateful for.
I'm in a very remote village right now. Very remote village in the jungle.
Understood. That's understood. So we are very thankful. Manjushri, he's having a lot of problem over there. He just came in for a while to congratulate you for your book and thankful for the
I
session.
want to congratulate Dr. Manjari. Please do send this book to me through file.
I will personally give it to you when you're back in Delhi, Dr. Rana. I'll take the
I'll be
opportunity.
back on Delhi on Monday.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye then, please go on speaking. I have like to listen to you people for next 10 minutes and then.
Yeah, he has been saying that I'm listening to all the ladies since long, and I'm really happy with whatever they are saying.
Almost right
Dr. Rana, we would love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
the whole thing is the body, mind, soul, and they're all interconnected. But very, very important that firstly you have to keep the body healthy. Then probably there will be then only connection. There will be connection of mind and soul. Then they are interconnected together. But if body is not healthy, then it is very difficult to remember God and to remember soul and everything. So I was listening to all of you how to stay healthy and really very educated for me also. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us over here. And
Thank
the
you.
book would be surely with you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
We're having good fun chatting here, but I think we'll have to take some stock of the time. And I think I'll take the liberty to close this and request you to please, on my behalf, thank everybody and close this.
I believe all of you must be having a book with you. If you can just hold the book in your hand so we can take a screenshot of the book. That is called finally a launch of the book. So Manjari ji, you should also be having the book in your hand. Yeah. So Ritika, I don't have a book. I don't have the book, but obviously, Nalini ji, do you have the book with you?
No, I'm sorry. I read it on my mobile. I only have a PDF.
Anyhow, even I don't have it. From our side, just a big congratulations. And Ritika, please take the screenshot of the book launch finally. So
done, ma'am. Done.
one,
Thank you.
two, 1, 2, 3. No, I'm just saying 3. 1, 2, 3. So thank you. So on behalf of ASSOCHAM, I really thank you, all of you, Dr. Kochhar ji, who has always been supportive to all the activities of ASSOCHAM. Whether we ask her to come over, maybe in the day, maybe in the night, and how many times. I'm so grateful to you, ma'am. Sonali ji, who am
With
just
Manjari,
been, yeah.
special connection with her.
So
We're all
Matthew ji, we
grateful.
just have been acquainted, and I'm sure our acquaintance will go on long. Dr. Geeta ji, pleasure to meet you, pleasure to hear your wonderful remarks. And Isha ji, who has been very close to me. We have been doing a lot of work together. She has been a part of all the activities. Dr. Rana ji, who's just managed to be there. I'm so grateful to him in the valleys. He's enjoying, he's in the village area, and still he managed to log in from there and be a part of it. My heartfelt thanks to him. So I thank you all to be a part of it. Congratulations, Manjari ji, for this very wonderful initiative on behalf of this Women Forum. You have been very active, and we hope you continue to do the same. ASSOCHAM team, IT team who is helping with us, Ritika who is helping with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for
Support.
inviting us. And
Great.
And it was
excellent.
so really
Yeah.
great.
And we
And
must make it a tagline to say, get back in your kitchen. So that should be the
Yes.
tagline. for
We'll
health.
share the minutes of this and the video and the photographs to your email IDs.
Lovely.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks a lot, Payal. Thanks, Ritika.
Bye, Payal, Dr. Geeta, Isha, and Sonali. Sonali, it was wonderful again seeing you
Yes.
after so long. Really wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
all.
much.
Bye.
Once again.
Okay.